Well, good morning. My name is Austin Heisop. I'm one of the organizers here at 1 Million Cups. There are many organizers. Find one of us. We're always looking for speakers. We have a presenter for next week, Lowell. We need a presenter for next week. So if you have a friend with a business, small, large, just want to meet people, network, please find one of us and help us out. And those organizers are the people you see there. There's only 3 of us this morning, right? Yeah, there's only 3 of us this morning. So find one of us and help us out. 4? Where's 4?
You didn't
Doug
give yourself. You didn't give
Oh yeah, Doug's in. I can't count. Okay,
He's
it's all
going that way.
I can't count. And here are some of the sponsors that make this event possible every Wednesday. And I believe our presenter this morning is Steve with All American. Steve, come on down.
Oh, I'm sorry. My fault.
What was it, Brian?
Sorry.
That's the last time I trust Lowell. That's the last time. Do you want the Britney Spears mic, or do you want this?
For no mic, if I can get away with it.
Well,
No,
just
we
hold it
recorded,
next
so you
to
gotta
the
have
speaker
one.
next to the thing,
Okay.
and then the right arrow.
All right, good morning. I'm Brian Jones with American Mobile Service. We're a startup. It's been around since December of 2022. We'll get a little more than that. All right, so CEO is Amy Jones, my wife. She's sitting right back there. She does not like to speak, which is why she's not here. And then I had to create a title, so I'm Director of Operations. All right, so who are we? We both did 20 years in the Navy. I was a mechanic for 20 years. My wife was admin. After the Navy, I went to work for a local quarry up in Carthage. Had 3 years of that, and then I decided to retire. After about 9 months of retirement, I said, you know what? I gotta do something. So while changing the oil in my garage and on the Jeep, I decided, you know what? I would pay somebody to come to my house and change my oil. So then, therefore, we were born. All right, so what we do, obviously, we do mobile oil changes. We're actually kind of venturing into doing mobile tire changes as well. The difference between us and our competitors is that if you call Purcell Tire and have them come out and do like roadside tire change or whatever, they don't balance your tire there. I'm going to get the equipment to where we can balance the tire and mount it right there in your driveway. And then who we serve, so initially it started out with the brainchild of white collar, upper management, CEO types, people that didn't have time, they're leaving work, running to the ball game, running to kids practice, going to church meetings, going to PTA meetings. And so we could change their oil while they're at work, while they're at the meeting, while they're wherever, so that way, they don't have time to sit in a waiting room. So, no waiting room. And we conduct routine preventive maintenance after business hours for commercial clients. So, a lot of times you have delivery vehicles and stuff like that. You didn't buy that delivery vehicle to sit out in a Jiffy Lube parking lot. You bought it to deliver your goods. All right, so the market is there. 80% of the companies that have a fleet of 5 vehicles or larger outsource some or all of their preventive or their maintenance actions. Now keep in mind, a lot of that is corrective, so the 80% sounds impressive. The preventive maintenance is not quite that large. And then 88% of manufacturing and industrial service or facilities outsource all or some of their maintenance actions as well. There again, a large sum of that is corrective maintenance. All right, so leading cause of outsource maintenance is one, cost savings. You don't have overhead of parts. Eliminate the challenge of hiring, onboarding, and maintaining workers. And then eliminate the requirement to carry a dedicated second shift. So when I was at the quarry, we had a second shift. It was the only second shift on the whole site. It was second shift maintenance because that's when the equipment was available. So then you gotta have a manager. You've got a lot of overhead just to be able to do the maintenance on the equipment. Our current status, so this right here is kind of where we're at, what we've done to this point thus far. Is we're working with PTAC, Missouri PTAC, Alan Waldo. I don't know if anybody has heard of him, knows him. So what PTAC is It's set up, I think, through the SBA, and they help small businesses register with the federal government to be able to bid on and possibly acquire federal contracts. Also local government contracts like county, municipalities. I even put in a bid for a sheriff's contract over in Christian County, maintaining their sheriff vehicles. And then SBA, woman-owned, disabled veteran, owned business registration. I'll get into that here in a second. Our current advertising is our Facebook page, our web page, and then also we do Facebooks where we boost ads, we do posts and we do videos. And then we did a Google Ads campaign. We got a lot of clicks, but no customers. And then also email cold calls. When I was maintenance manager at the quarry, I didn't like cold calls because they're always coming at the most inopportune time. So I try to be cognizant of that and figure out, because if you hit somebody at the wrong time, or at least in my experience, if I hit somebody at the wrong time, then I didn't want to hear from them anymore. So as they kept on showing up, it's like, you know what? I'm done with you, you're wasting my time. So I'm trying to be cognizant of that because you only get one time to make a first impression. All right, so that advertising has led us into, right now we have one corporate or commercial account. It is Fluid Truck, so that they are contracted through Amazon, the Amazon delivery right over here on, what road is that? Prigmore, thanks. So that's a company based out of Denver, Colorado. Amazon is a truck share, so it's kind of like a Penske or a Hertz or something like that. So Amazon rents the vehicles from Fluid Truck, and then Fluid Truck pays me to go in and do the maintenance on these vehicles. It's actually been a really good account, really good because it's really my only account. So I've done 89 invoices, and there's some invoices where I've done multiple work orders in one invoice. So, but each invoice equates to about an hour, so that's about 90 hours worth of work, and I've made about $22,000. All right, so our financials, my wife was like, she's like, you know, they don't need to know that. And I was like, well, I'll be somewhat transparent, right? Because that's what Lowell said. He said, be willing to take criticism and whatnot. So our startup funds were roughly around $5,000, and that was out of, our account. Received funds, so that's how much we've actually received into our bank account, has been just over $12,000, and outstanding funds is just shy of 10. So Fluid Truck, like any large corporation, is not very good at paying their bills. Monthly operating expenses come in right around $800, but that's $573 is repayment back to us. So if we got rid of that, then our total operating costs are about $180 a month. So that's our overhead. And then consumable expenses, so that's what we spent on oil, filters, everything we needed to do the jobs. All right, so upcoming campaigns, this is all the stuff that I can think of in my limited experience. Jim Briley, who's actually her uncle, anybody know Jim Briley from Joplin Supply? Okay. He is an outside salesman, and he is in contact with all the maintenance managers and the people that I need to get in contact with at all these businesses. And so he offered, I could give him my trifold, my business card, and all that stuff. He offered to go around, since he's already got that connection, he's already got that relationship, and say, hey, I know a guy that can come in and do your oil changes. So in return for that, I'm going to change his oil at cost. And then register as a vendor with Enterprise, U-Haul, Penske, Ryder, Cintas. So the woman-owned business, that's going to kind of give us an in with Enterprise, U-Haul, and Penske, because if you go into their vendor registration on their website, it's under their diversity and inclusion tab. So I figure with a woman-owned business, we'd have more of a chance of getting in there than we would just. All right, our desired growth is to gain clients in surrounding areas, to include Springfield, Bentonville, Tulsa, right? So right now, because of Fluid Truck, we're doing services here and we're doing services down in Lowell, which is just below Bentonville, I think it is. So we're doing services there. There is an upcharge for us to travel down there. But with the idea of, if we get enough clients in Bentonville area, then I can get another truck down there and then start to kind of grow. So I'll kind of eat the cost traveling to all these areas, trying to get clients until I can get enough to justify getting a separate truck for that one area. And then eventually I want to offer CMMS development. So CMMS is computer managed maintenance system. So that's what large corporations, the military, that's what we did. So basically you have your manufacturer's recommendations that says every 150 hours you do this, every 200 hours you do that. So like at the quarry, and from what I understand, there's a lot of organizations around here that don't have a good preventive maintenance program. So eventually I'd like to get into where I go in, I evaluate all their equipment, and I go look at the manufacturer recommendations, build them a CMMS program, and then they can either do it, I can train their technicians how to do it, or I can provide the service where I'll go in and do it for them. Are there any questions? And I'm sure there's a lot.
I have a comment.
Yes, ma'am.
Great presentation. I'm impressed. You have an impressive start to your company. You need business cards. We already talked about
Yes, ma'am.
this. You need flyers.
Yes, ma'am.
And get them out there. Have you contacted AAA to see if you can be a local contact here instead of
have.
having them send out records?
I have not, but I'm looking at trying to do stuff like that, but I haven't identified specific which ones. So a lot of it is, and she gets on to me all the time, but I'm always on my computer and I'm always searching and Googling and whatever. And so I'll come up with, like, I've had a guy mention Camping World, where like roadside tire changes, stuff like that. So AAA's would be jacked, all right, so she's got that added, so yes, ma'am.
Another, when you were talking about working with Fluid Truck, FedEx uses independent contractors to do all the home build. Well, actually, everything is operated by independent contractors outside of the actual loading the trucks. So you might get with somebody in management at the distribution center, that they have one in Pittsburgh now, and then the one here in Joplin, is all of those trucks are ran by, there's about 6 or 7 companies that are contractors that, so the thing about it is that they do have, you can go in and, do the maintenance on the trucks there overnight, obviously. But my second question is if you had like emergency type services, if you're capable of doing emergency.
Emergency is like tire changes or
I
something?
mean, like, blown out tire or whatever out in the middle, cause well, go ahead.
Well, right now, we don't have the capabilities to do emergency, but that's something that I wanna get into is, like I said, we have an onboard tire changing and balancing machine, so I can do that type of stuff. Right now, how I'm doing tires is I have an extra set of rims, because Fluid Truck runs the same type of vehicles as Ram Promasters. And so what I'll do is I got that style of rim, and I just go get a new tire, put on that rim, and I just go swap, and just keep swapping that way, so I don't have the capabilities. But that is something that I am looking into.
Well, a lot of those, like at FedEx, it's kind of operated basically the same way as Amazon, but they typically have a maintenance person too, but they're not. I mean, they're just independent contractors, so they don't have like a garage somewhere. I mean, they don't have a. So having somebody that comes out to the distribution center and does the maintenance there is what they all do.
Yeah, and so, actually Fluid Truck is looking at getting an account with FedEx as well, and I was hoping it was kind of going to be my end. I reached out to Amazon, Mr. Singari, and he responded back gracefully, and he said that he had no control over who does his maintenance or whatever, so I don't know if that was more of a blow-off. I mean, he's the owner of the company, you know what I mean? So I don't know if it was really, if it was like a very polite blow-off, but, I reached out to to whatever I could. So in turn, I was hoping while, and I know hope is not a course of action, but while I'm out there doing this, I've had a lot of the drivers been like, oh man, that one over there needed that one. And I was like, well, talk to your manager and, and so
Yeah.
there, I'm trying
The
to.
drivers may not really actually know much
I
about
know,
it.
but if they can talk to their manager and,
Right.
get me up the chain.
Well, and actually asking the management at the distribution center, they can at least give you a list of all the contractors.
Mhm. So, yeah, that's something that we'll definitely look into. Thanks for the idea. Yes, ma'am.
Joining the chambers, have you joined the chambers yet?
I did not realize how important it was to join the chambers until I registered for this, and then through doing research on this, I started seeing.
Joplin, Neosho, Carl Junction, Carthage, I would do as many as possible.
Yes, ma'am.
They're great contacts, you can always go, even if not, I mean, you can talk to Doug about this. You can go in and look at their clients, or their members, and see if there's anybody that fits who you need to talk to. And also, we're members of ING, Sean and I are, and I'm sure there's some other people here. You are welcome to come and visit us tomorrow, it's tomorrow at 9 o'clock. If you'd like to go and be my visitor,
Okay.
you're more than happy to do that.
Yes, ma'am.
That's a great opportunity too, it's a networking group,
Mhm.
and then it's, industry specific, exclusive, so there would never be any other.
Okay, perfect. So yes, ma'am, I'll do it. And then also with the Chamber of Commerce, cause I saw a few months back and then I lost it, and then I found it while I was researching this, was the monthly meetings, like after business hour things. It was
Business
happening
after hours, morning brew.
And, so I saw that a few months back, and it was at one of the car dealerships. I'm like, oh, this has been perfect.
Yeah,
And then, like I said, I lost the information, then found it while I was researching this, and so there again, I do need to join the Chamber of Commerce, because like I said, I didn't realize how important that was to a small fledgling business.
oh man.
And
Is that
so-
every last Thursday of the month, or when is that?
Well, the business after hours is the second Tuesday.
Second Tuesday?
So it was last
Okay,
night.
yeah, okay.
And then we have morning brew, which is the first Friday for coffee.
Same thing, basically.
Yeah, and then on a quarterly basis, we have an event called Good Morning Joplin. That's powerful because if you get on the list, on the agenda, you can stand up and give a 60-second speech about your business in front of about 100 people.
Right.
And that comes with your membership.
Nice.
And e-commerce, we have that, and, what else we got on a regular basis?
Leads groups.
Leads groups.
Yeah.
Leads groups comes with your membership, so,
She's my note taker.
yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay, a couple of questions and a comment. So the first one is, when did you start?
I started in December. I filed for articles of organization December of 2022.
Okay, okay. All right, and then the second question is, you said you have a website on there.
I do.
Okay, so is this something that they can go in and order, like your service, and say, hey, I need, I've got 3 trucks and I need done, or whatever? I mean, can they place it, or they have to call you to do it, or how does it work?
I have an app, so like you can scan the QR code and you can go in and you can, like basically set up an appointment. And then also on the website, there is you can email me, call me, whatever, all my information's there. So you can do it either way.
Okay, so does the app and then the appointment, is that an automated process then that reminds them and all that kind of thing, or?
I don't know if it reminds them, it sends me an email.
Okay.
And they pick out, what it does is, so like if somebody already has that time block, it grays it out where they can't double book.
Right.
So basically they go in, select the time, the date, all that stuff, and it sends me an email, and then I'll just, I gotta get, the app does ask what type of engine and all that, so I'm sure to have the right type of oil filter and all that stuff, so.
Cool. Well, the third thing was to say, as far as these chambers and all these events, so like they said, the 4 around here, I actually have a calendar that's for the rest of the year that lists all of the events and when they are and where they're at and all that. I'll be glad to share that with you or
Please.
anybody else that wants it. It's on a spreadsheet, so you can I can send it to you, just let me know and I can send it to you, but it's a great tool so you don't miss stuff.
All right. And
first, thank you to you and your wife for your service to our country. And the thing when I had my first business, my business mentor shared with me, the one thing I learned was build once and derive many to get to success. And I struggled with that because I was a service-based company. It's not like I'm creating a widget and duplicate it and I know what my overhead is to start, margins and all that. So the critical thing in that is to create systems and processes. So if you haven't read the book, The E-Myth by Michael Gerber, I encourage you to do it.
Got that in?
And I also encourage you to read the book by Stephen Little called The 7 Irrefutable Laws of Small Business Growth. I can get with you later to tell you that.
What was the name of that book? E-Myth?
E-Myth, the E-Myth, just the letter E. And so taking his advice, what I did, instead of just taking things one-on-one and doing an hourly deal, I realized the importance of leveraging being there for clients on a monthly basis. So I went from billable hours chasing my tail to being on a retainer with several clients that wanted a premium service.
Okay.
It completely changed everything for the good. So having said that, what I would see would be a great thing for you is, yes, it's great that you could go help somebody out that blew out their tire on the interstate, but what's your margin on that? One, a lot of insurance companies will provide that service anyway, so you're competitive, you've got competitors. But if you get in the chambers and leverage networking with everybody that has a fleet, and you can sell them on putting you on a base retainer on a discount rate on a regular basis, now you can be able to start looking at projections a year or two down, or a few months down the road. And you leverage those memberships at the area chambers so that when you go and you're networking and you meet Tom and you say, Tom, I'm looking for a referral from somebody that has a fleet of 5 or more vehicles. Who do you know? You will be amazed at the names that start coming to you, and through your connections through the chamber, now you're using Tom to do a personal introduction, and they're gonna slam the door in your face because you're leveraging the trust factor here. That's the power of a chamber membership. So even back in the day when I had my ad agency, which is what it was, marketing and PR, I had people that could not afford what we were, the whole package, but I would still give them an hour of my time to say, here's what you can do with your local chamber membership. If you start a business and you don't have another dime to put in marketing, you put it at least in the chamber that you are living, that community that you're living in. And if you jump in and you elbow grease the heck out of it with networking and connections, that will grow your business.
Perfect.
So you have a great thing here. I mean, we've seen a lot of things come through 1 Million Cups. I think you're onto something huge. I'm old enough to remember that when the Jiffy Lube type places started, everybody laughed at them and said, oh, I changed my own oil, that's stupid, I wouldn't do that. Now we all do it, right?
Yep.
It's the same thing with mobile.
Yep.
People are doing mobile for windshield repair, auto detailing.
Getting the groceries.
Nobody's doing it for oil changing, it makes perfect sense.
Yep.
So you've got a great business plan, but whatever you can do to get chunks of money guaranteed coming in, that's where you are the preferred service provider for fleets. That's what I would encourage.
Thank you.
And I can set you up on that chamber membership job. Go ahead.
So to follow on what he was just saying, and we already talked about, when I had my mobile restoration service, the key and where you made the money is if I had, I had 4 dealers that I went on certain days, and that was my day there. So, you can do onesies and twosies all day. Well, you still have to set up and you still have to do everything the same.
Yep.
But if I can go set up one time and do 10 or 15 vehicles in one day, well, then I make a whole lot more money.
Yep.
So I had, 4 or 5 dealers that, they knew every Tuesday morning at 9 or wherever I'd be there. So they would line the cars up for me. Whereas, like I said, if you just drop in and then you might get 1 or 2 or whatever, but, I would think in yours, if you could get some accounts like that where you could, put a routine schedule and they know they'd line up the vehicles for you to change, might be a lot more lucrative.
Yeah, and how we do it with Fluid Truck is Fluid Truck has telematics on their vehicles. So what that means is on my cell phone, I got their app, I got permissions on their app, so I can unlock and lock the vehicles as needed. But I can only do it when they put in a work order. So there again, I'm there after hours when nobody else is there. I'm not in anybody's way. And I'm just unlocking the vehicles, taking pictures of the odometers, taking pictures, checkpoints as I'm going through. And I upload all that to their website, and that way there's proof that I actually did the work. And so for companies around here, I basically have key drop boxes where I can go there right when they close or right before they close, get the keys for the vehicles they need. I do the services, drop the keys in the lockbox, and then, it's all good to go. Yes, ma'am.
I was gonna, the dealerships, that's what I was gonna say, that's another place that you might talk to them and see if they can hand out your flyers to their buyers. Just so that they know that they've got this option. I know that some dealerships like to do the oil changes themselves and things like that, but this might be an emergency. That
Right.
if they get stuck on the side of, or, that they don't have time to bring it in. And you
Right.
may explain that, like I said, you need to have a good flyer that explains everything you do.
Okay.
But that might be another place that you might try.
And we're developing the flyer that's being printed now, and that's one of the things that your body's gonna be handing out for us. It's gonna tell everything we do, whether it's construction, equipment or fleets or, cause like I said, I started out wanting to do individual onesie twosies. When Fluid Truck contacted me, then my eyes were open. I was like, oh crap, I need to be going commercial with this, not individual.
That's where your money is.
Yes, ma'am.
Great
Yes.
presentation.
Thank you.
I think if we had to do a video of what your presentation should look like, yours would be
Yes.
perfect for that. I love your idea. I also wonder about thinking about dealerships, but also thinking about larger companies like in Platt, Tamco, places where there are white collar workers who are there 8 hours a day who
Go to their.
are going
Yeah.
to get their oil. I tried to get my oil changed this week before I left for a trip, and I didn't manage to do it. I would have called somebody your service and had to come out to my house to do that. But I work at a place where there's 45 people who work. If I would tell people I have this person coming to change my oil, probably other people would sign up that
Right.
day to have their oil changed as well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's my
That's true, and so that was kind of what I was gonna ask about it, so I'm guessing the money's just not there from what you're seeing for, the consumer versus the commercial side. Are you wanting to go to the consumer side? Or
I-
you're only gonna focus on?
No, I'm going to go both directions.
Okay.
But like I said, I guess I was thinking small, because I was just a guy in my garage. And so I was like, exactly what you stated was my initial business, my initial business model. And then my eyes opened and I saw the flip side of the coin when Fluid Truck contacted me. And I was like, oh, there's another market out there in addition to this. So yes, we're absolutely looking at that. In fact, I even had a promotion to where if I did multiple oil changes, you'd have multiple people that line their cars up basically, then I would do a discount for that instead of showing up just for one.
Nice.
But there again, I never got any hits, but it was in my marketing. It was, I didn't know, and that's one of the things, thanks Alex for, one, I saw your presentation on Facebook. And then of course I want to be like you, so then I was like, hey, I gotta do this too, but that's where, when I'm doing research and all, and I saw the Chamber of Commerce, and I was like, wow, there's so much connectivity out there. And I mean, whenever a new business comes online, the Chamber's just promoting it, because I joined, or not joined, but followed the O show and all the surrounding areas, and they're constantly putting up, support this business, congratulations for their door opening or their 1-year anniversary, whatever. So then I started seeing oh, okay, that's how you do it. And I'm still learning, we're 20 years, we didn't have any of this knowledge, so now we're learning this. Yes,
So
ma'am.
if we've learned anything at 1 Million Cups, it's connections are the key, and making sure that you have Fluid Truck right now, and you're probably taking really good care of them. They're probably going to tell other people, and that's going to build and grow your business naturally.
And that's how I got the Bentonville account from Fluid Truck also, is because the guy would only want to do it during business hours, normal business hours, which the trucks aren't there. And so the rep asked me, he's like, could you go to Lowell and do these oil changes? Like, he was just trying to get out of the hole. He's like, can you just go to Lowell, knock these out, because I got end of months coming up, and I'm gonna get less than if they're still on my books. And so I went down there and did it, and then, the next month, hey, I got a couple more, blah, 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 and I was like, dude, I'll just take that whole account if you want me to. And he's like, well, you're upcharging for this, right? Like, you're charging a mobilization fee. And I said, yeah, you know, but they're good with it. He's like, dude, my goal is to, whenever I get an alert or whatever, to have it done within 24 to 48 hours.
Yeah, I mean, I'll pay for convenience, I'll pay for like loyalty, knowing that someone's gonna show up and do
And
the job.
service.
Yeah,
And so, like, you know, like, we were talking before the presentation that, like, Jiffy Lube, you know, they advertise oil changes are like $89 or whatever, and they're 10 minutes. Okay, so when you go in there, when's the last time you paid $89 for an oil change, especially like on synthetic fluids and all that stuff, new vehicles. So you go in, she got in there, she was like, hey, it's like $69. Well, then when the ticket came out, it was 120, 130, whatever dollars. And it didn't take 10 minutes, right? So I charge $149, $149.99. And then, you know, there's no waiting whatsoever. You're at work, you're at the ball game, you're at whatever. It's being done simultaneously. Yes, sir.
So, a great way to take what she said and kind of blend from everybody and take away from this in my mind, would be go out to Leggett Flat, you know, try to get their fleet, but while you're there, leave some brochures and stuff, cards or whatever, put a little deal on their door when people walk in and be like, hey, we're here changing oil on Tuesdays. You know, you can change your oil here, book it online, whatever. So if you have a business card too though, I have some connections out at Leggett Flat that I can see the person that I'm thinking of, if she manages the things I think she does, she can probably get you.
All right.
So let me make sure of that first before I throw a name out, but
Okay.
if I can get a business card from you, I'll pass it around, so.
I have a question.
She's gonna pull something out of her purse or
Now, you guys-
Well, I don't have a business card for, that, but I
When
have
you
a
put
card
your
now.
oil change sticker on the window, does that have your
They're being
QR code to
printed right
book
now.
That's fine.
future appointments?
The oil change stickers we have right now are generic.
Okay.
So,
If you could get some that had your QR code where they could book again, and then if I'm driving that corporate car and wanna book your service for myself, I can do it right there.
Yep, kind of blend everything, but I was also gonna mention, what about hospitals, man? I mean, like my mom works out at the hospital, and I can tell you right now, if she didn't have to go, the day she gets off early, you know, Friday she gets off at like noon or whatever, but every other day she works past 5. So if she could call you and not have to do that on her Friday, she's gonna eat that up.
yeah.
So something to think about is a hospital would be good, because you have a lot of work.
Yeah.
Nurses, EMTs.
So on that note, we were talking about, you know, like if she, at a library, you know, if she wants to get her oil changed, well, what I would do, and we were talking about that before, is I do these auto cleanups. Well, I would go like a week in advance with a flyer, and they would put it up and say, hey, he's coming this day, sign up to get yours done on that day. So instead of just doing one person's, you know, I do 5 or 10. And again, you know, consumer business is great, but volume is the key. And so if you can do 10 as opposed to 1,
Yep.
you know, it's a whole lot,
On that same
more
point,
lucrative.
I wonder if it would be beneficial for you to offer like packages per vehicle, so like once you service that fluid truck that one time, like if you could just say, hey, I'll sell you a 3 package or a 5 oil change package for X amount, and say you'll save 10 or 12%, you know, then you could get that same volume capture at the beginning, right? And that fluid truck, you know you're gonna service those 90 trucks you've already serviced again, right? Why not get that buy-in immediately?
Yeah.
Also, as far as small fleets locally, Fastenal and Airgas, I know, would probably be good. They probably have, you know, 5 to 8 trucks apiece, so that would be,
Yeah, it's like Centos and.
yeah.
You could try some municipalities too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cities, police department.
Well, that's like Christian County, because the woman even
Smaller
told me.
police departments like Carthage doesn't have the
Yeah.
same facility that
Yeah.
Joplin does.
Mhm.
I mean, that you might have to go through an RFP process. and all
Yeah,
that
there's a
stuff.
bidding process.
Yeah, but worth keeping an
Yes.
eye out for.
I got another one.
Yes,
for you.
sir.
So something else to think about, if you're gonna sit there and pay for ad campaigns and stuff, you know, I might be scrolling through Facebook and see your ad and be like, oh, that's cool, you know, and move on, you know, where if what I was trying to say, I guess, is if you put in an ad saying, hey, find this or do this, so a good idea I heard that would work great for you, that I never really got to implement, and I think it would be really cool, but it wouldn't work for what we do. But if you took and made some pins or something, this is what one guy did, he made some pins and he put some like gold pins in there, different colored pins or whatever. He said, if you find the gold pin, you get 10% off. And he put them in high-end, restaurants and gave them to the waitresses to hand out. So if they're sitting there signing a bill and they find the gold pin or whatever, they get 10% off their, it's just something like, as an ad, that would be a creative ad to do, and just a good way to kind of get your name out there, people being like, oh, that's cool, I found this, or the waitress might mention it at the restaurant. Just something to think about if you're already paying for ads and stuff, a good way to change it up. Just, I've heard that before, I thought it'd be good if anybody who wants to use that can, because it won't work for what we do, but I always thought that'd be a really cool idea, so.
One other thing for you. So earlier you said something that kind of hit me, because I was self-employed for 21 years with 2 different businesses I owned, and it's an interesting mindset that you have to be in to create revenue for yourself to survive. And that's why I've got a passion for entrepreneurs. So, but earlier you said, I guess I was thinking too small, right? That hit me. So here's what I encourage you to do. Dream big, think big, and come up with a plan. Have a business plan that you write out a document, and in the chapter of business development, you could take almost everything that we've mentioned here and write that out. So I want to take you into the future, okay? We're however many months or a year or two down the road. You have got your company set up and well established in Tulsa, Springfield, maybe even Little Rock, South Kansas City, and you're becoming regional. When you get to that point and you said having techs in those locations, start thinking about franchising without franchising, meaning when you hire somebody, you bake in loyalty by saying, here's the system and process that I want you to follow. You join your local chamber, here's how you network and grow. You do that and grow, you get 15% of the net profits out of this in addition to the salary I'm paying you. So it's almost like an ESOP, but now you've got people working for you that's got skin in the game, because one thing that every business owner is challenged with as you grow is the business owner is got that hardcore customer service quality thing. Most worker bees don't have that, and you can't pass it on through process of osmosis. So how can you build that loyalty? Dollars.
Right.
And when you have somebody working for you and they see your heart and your passion and how you're operating, and even though they're on a salary and they realize I can grow this business and keep 15% of it without taking personal risk, and there's no cap on how much I can grow this, you'd be hard pressed to lose somebody.
Well, that's where, so whenever we were, you know, because it's an hour down, an hour back from Lowell, so there's a lot of time to sit there and think and whatever. So we were talking about it, and I was like, you know, if we, because I think Lowell or in the Bentonville area would probably be my first branch. And I was like, I don't want to pay someone per hour or a salary or whatever, because then you're paying them to show up.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I had that same problem up at the quarry and everything. You get guys, they just show up. They're like, I'm here, pay me. It was like, we haven't done anything. Well, it don't matter, I'm here, pay me. So I started thinking of, okay, how can I get them to get in and incentivize it? And so I'm gonna, my idea is to pay them per oil change, not per hour.
Right.
So if they're industrious and they can go knock out 2 oil changes in an hour, you know, if I pay them $20 per oil change, well, if they can knock out 2 in an hour, that means, and I can do 2 in an hour, not even trying hard.
Yeah.
So that's $40 an hour. You know, so I was like, well, shoot, I can work for $40 an hour, you know, whatever. So, and then I'm still making a decent cut as well. So I've already thought that in. I was like, hey, I'm going to try to do it per job instead of per hour.
Yeah.
That would also give them incentive to go out and find businesses.
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely.
And be efficient, and line up those 5 instead of doing one over here and one on the
Right.
other side of town, and it's
Yeah.
lunchtime now.
Yep. And I don't want to pay them an hour sitting in, because I mean, it's mobile, so I'm not going to be able to supervise them, and I'm sitting in that office watching them out here. So they could go sit in Arby's, you know, for an hour, you know, while they're eating on their phone, whatever, well, okay, sit in Arby's for an hour. That, you're losing money.
You talk about being on the road for an hour, is you got a truck and a trailer? is it
I do have a
wrapped?
truck and trailer.
It's wrapped and got number and what's new on it?
We, actually, we're both being wrapped August 12th, I think he said.
Sweet.
So, but yeah, right now I'm trying to figure out, so I am looking like future-wise, and so I don't know how I want it to be. I don't know if I want like a big box truck with like a lift gate on the back, because it'd be easier to drive and maneuver, because I'm kind of scared of people driving trailers and backing up and hitting this and whatever that.
Gonna be accidents.
So I'm trying to figure out what's gonna be the most efficient way to get in and out of a small parking lot without my tech taking out 15 cars. So you were there for, you know, $150 oil change, you walk away with a $15,000 bill, so.
Wonder if you could find a convert an old ambulance. You know, that would be
I-
pretty striking.
I've looked at those.
Yeah.
I've actually looked at those, yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I'm looking at any and all options, but whatever it is, I want it to be repeatable, so that way my brand, you know, it's, when they see that, whatever it is, whether it's an old ambulance, whatever, when it, you know, they all look the same, whether it's Kansas City, Lowell, whatever.
Cool, man, cool concept.
Yeah,
Awesome.
yeah. Clearly, we're all on board.